What is up, everybody? Happy Monday evening. A lot of stuff going on today with Ohio State football announcements, updates, coaches talking. It's almost game week, and we're going to get into it and dive into it. Cannot wait. Please take the time right now, like this video, click that thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe if you have not already done that. Click the notification bell so that the videos will pop up on your timeline and your notifications whenever we go live. Thank you very much for that. So, listen, I had to do a 1A, 1B with this one. All right. I love both these players. We got 12, 1A, Cardale Jones, 12 gauge, whatever you want to call him, Tyvis Powell's son, whatever you want to call him, days until we play Texas in the shoe. And Cardale, man, he speaks for himself. Great, great kid. We can do like a documentary on his life, just on his life in general, from Cleveland, Glenville, and then coming to Ohio State. You know, the notorious, we ain't come here to play school, and then Urban Meyer's perspective of Cardale, and just how he emerged and how he was such a hero for Buckeye Nation when the great JT Barrett went down. So Cardale, and now he's doing great things in the media. Very, very happy and proud of this kid, man. Great, great guy. I haven't had the chance to meet him in person. I will, though. But great guy. But also the 1B, 12 Michael Jenkins days. Holy Buckeye days until we play Texas. I had to put Michael in here. I don't think he gets enough love. And I wanted to make sure we touched on that because he was a really, really, really good receiver. Really, really good receiver in an offense that didn't throw the ball as much. And so, but when we did, guess who was catching it? This young man right here. He was clutch. He was reliable, dependable. And this right here is one of the greatest plays in Ohio State history. And it was at the receiving end of Michael Jenkins. So if you're out there, Michael, God bless you, bro. Buckeye Nation appreciate you. And so there's that. All right. So remember, super chats go to our pay it forward military, first responders. We're going to take care of them because they take care of us. All right. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Nevada, what is up, my friend? What you think about my 1A, 1Bs?
Those are pretty good. Cardell, obviously Buckeye legend, and Michael Jenkins, probably one of the most underrated wide receivers in Ohio State history. As big as that holy Buckeye catch was, his catch, I want to say it was like 4th and 14 in the national championship game against Miami to keep the drive going. You know what I'm saying? I mean, in a game when we could not throw the ball,
Yeah.
we could not throw the ball that game. I think Krenzel was like 4 for 14 for 85 yards in regulation or something like that, and 7 for
Yeah.
21 on the whole game. So we could not throw the ball. And you have a 4th and 14 against that defense, and Jenkins just threw the guy off him, took that out route, caught the ball, and the rest is history. So yeah, big time player. We're getting down to 12 now. We're getting down to the low digits, which means Ohio State football is just around the corner. So
Yes.
I'm super excited right now. I'm counting down the days for sure, and uh, you know, it's just like 6 more wake ups, and then we're into game week, and I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
Yes. Speaking of super, you mentioned super. Julian Super Sayin is your QB1. Let's pretend we're shocked, Nevada. We're shocked. If you can see my face right now, I'm pretending to be shocked. So, yeah, we're not shocked at all. I thought this edit was pretty cool. My guy, Jason Bear, who follows my Facebook page, Buckeye Sports Talk with B. Moses, he sent this. I thought it was dope. But, yeah, we're not surprised that Julian is starting, of course. But, Nevada, what's your initial thoughts now that everything is public, everything is out there and ready to go? How you feeling, man?
Well, I think it was the right time. I think if you asked us, yeah, I always say, timing these things is dicey, but how how early would you like to name your starting quarterback? 2 weeks is about right. You'd want to have given the fall camp a good chance to have run. You obviously have other things to consider in this because you've got a backup quarterback in Lincoln that you don't want to leave or feel betrayed or whatever it was. So you wanted to give him a fair shot during the spring camp, through a couple scrimmages, and but you have to at some point name the starter. Julian was clearly the guy. But Lincoln's going to play, and I think that's an important thing for people to understand is they're putting in packages, and they're not just. I know that the popular thing is short yardage, goal line type of stuff, but that's not just it. I'm not sure what numbers they're going to call up for him, but they've got a variety of different situations around the field that they like to do with Lincoln, and he brings kind of a different element than Julian does. I mean, Julian is, I say less athletic, but Lincoln's a freaky athlete. I mean, Lincoln is a
Yeah.
freaky, truly freaky athlete. Whereas Julian's just, I saw something today where somebody said he's like the best thrower ever at Ohio State. Might be. I mean, he might be the best pure thrower. I mean, he's got that kind of arm talent. He's that kind of pure quarterback. But Lincoln's going to play, so it's but you need, the old saying is if you have two quarterbacks and you don't have one, you need to have one guy that's the alpha dog. Lincoln's going to be the relief pitcher, kind of come in case somebody gets hurt, and situationally, but he'll see the field this year in a 16-17 game schedule. Both those guys are going to play. But Julian's the man. If you've been following this podcast, been following the website, that's something we've been saying for quite some time. But it's not like he came out of nowhere. He's a five-star, number one quarterback in the country, coming out of
Yeah.
high school, winner of the Elite 11. So super highly regarded, but has lived up to every bit of the hype since he's been at Ohio State. And I know the coaching staff loves him. I know the receivers love him. I know the offense truly believes in him. And I think he's going to be a great leader for Ohio State, and I think he's going to do great things.
Yeah. Here's the quote. It was Bo Bishop who said this.
I am not surprised that Julian is starting quarterback at Ohio State. He's the most natural thrower of the football that I've seen that has played here. Tim May echoed this as much when we talked to him at camp. It just comes off of his hands so naturally. It just flicks. Now, will he become what Dwayne Haskins became or what CJ Stroud became? Who knows? But what he is right now is the most gifted, and I think you're going to really like watching him play.
All right. So yeah, that's definitely high praise when you think of all the great quarterbacks we've had, especially recently. CJ Stroud and Haskins, and I mean those guys. You talking about natural flick and the ball coming off their hands. Nothing prettier than CJ Stroud or even Haskins. So that was definitely high praise. Couple things I want to touch on, Nevada, about Sayin. So number one, the QB battle. I just kind of want to repeat this, and I've said this before, because you still see kind of comments about how Ryan Day handles the quarterback position. And yes, like Julian Sayin was the guy, but that doesn't mean it wasn't real what he was going through. Ryan Day as a QB guy, even if he feels you're the guy, he wants you to walk it out. He wants you to go and snatch it and take it and prove it and lead your teammates and win the locker room. I'm telling you, Ryan Day is not just being a phony. Oh, I'm just going to put on a ruse. No, he's a quarterback and he understands what it takes to lead a team. So he's saying, okay, yeah, I think Julian is the guy. I'm pretty sure he is, but he needs to go and prove it to his teammates, to us, all of that. And so I think there is a small window crack for that other guy in these situations to take it. I do think Devin Brown, there was a crack, but McCord was the starter. But if you slip up, watch your back type thing. So I don't think I'm saying this because Nevada, people get frustrated and think this is just a fake, but he does this all the time. Even though we knew Julian Sayin was the starter, it doesn't mean that Ryan Day was just faking it. He wants his guys to step in and take it. Nevada, what you got to say about that before I move on?
Well, no, I think it's a great point, and I think I think things can go the way that you expect them to go, and the way that you thought they were going to go without it being fake. I think Ryan likes to stress the quarterbacks. Um, he likes to challenge them on the field, off the field,
Yeah.
to be that guy. And I think him just anointing somebody who's definitely not, it's not the way he does things, not the way that most of the good coaches wouldn't do it. And I think for Ryan, um, he did want to see one of the guys kind of separate themselves, and I think it's became pretty clear to the team that Julian had separated himself. You can debate whether it could have been done a week earlier or whatever it was, but I think Julian had created that kind of separation. But it was real, I mean, it was palpable. It was obvious to people watching in terms of what's going on. But I mean, Ryan as a quarterback whisperer, evaluator of talent, guy that can get a quarterback ready. um, I'm not saying he's the best in college football, but I don't know who's better. I mean, we're basically in a situation where he's got few peers in terms of doing that, and his track record in terms of doing that is pretty long and distinguished. So I trust him implicitly when it comes to evaluating quarterbacks, when it comes to getting those guys ready for the games. And he feels like Julian Saint's the guy. He feels like now's the time. So he's got my total support. But I agree with you. I don't think this wasn't kabuki theater where they were just going out there and going through the motions and he was going to do it. Like Julian's been really good, and I think Lincoln's a very capable quarterback in his own way, but Julian's just different, and he's just a pure thrower. With When you have a team like Ohio State's got, and you've got so much receiving talent, and you have a guy like Julian that can kind of get the ball out there, quickly on time, put it in good spots, keep it out of harm's way. It was a very daunting task for Lincoln to beat him out. And I think Lincoln acquitted himself quite nicely, and has earned himself playing time situationally. But Julian's just that number one guy, but he definitely earned it on the field, and it certainly wasn't handed to him.
Yep, and that's it. And that's the point. Is it's not a fake thing. It's a hey, go out and take it thing. Even though you're the leader in the clubhouse, go and prove me right. Real quick, Day said about Julian, he's smart, poised, has good composure, can see it. He's has good timing, has really built command and confidence as time has gone on. Then he said, you see the traits, you see the accuracy, you see the ball getting out of his hand quickly. We've heard about that quick release for months now. But the ability to run the offense, get us into right play, make good decisions, throw it away when needed, to and ultimately take care of the football is obviously huge. But he said he can fit the ball into tight spaces he's to. He has a good feel for the pocket. And so all those things and areas that we recognize he's taking steps forward here during the preseason. So, yeah, those are all things you want to see from your quarterback. We saw a little bit of a flash in the spring game. I know it's a spring game, but you can still see the flash of the accuracy, the zip, the command, being able to lead his team downfield, make the good decisions. So he has to go out there in the field versus Texas and do that, of course. But I'm going to shift gears into the other part about saying, I was going to say, Nevada, is that I was talking to some buddies earlier about saying size. And, there's still, I guess, some concern compared to what we've had, like Cardale Jones, CJ Stroud, Justin Fields. I mean, we've had a lot of 6'4", 6'5". I mean, shoot, even JT Barrett wasn't 6 foot or 6'1". He's about 6'2". And so he's probably the smallest guy we've had in a minute to start. I mean, Martell didn't start. So, I guess as I was going back and forth about it, it's like, yeah, we want a bigger guy. But Nick Saban had no problem with his height. Neither did Sarkisian, who recruited him heavily at Texas. And I mean, obviously the whole country wanted him. And so Ryan Day didn't have an issue with his height either. So what say you? I mean, he's listed at 6'1". Drew Brees is listed at 6 foot. I think they're probably, how you kind of fluctuate with the heights and what are they really with cleats on type thing. What's your concern level with his height and being able to throw over the line and balls being batted down and stuff like that?
Oh, well, I think it's always a concern, but when you see guys like Bryce Young, and who can't be more than 5'11" or whatever it is, and
he's short.
he's short. Being able to make it work. The thing with Julian is he's an over the top thrower. He doesn't deliver from 3/4 arm. He doesn't go sidearm with the ball, so he's coming over the top, which gets the ball out of harm's way. It's never really been an issue. I mean, in high school, he didn't have a lot of passes batted down. Frankly, at Ohio State, he hasn't had a lot of passes, batted down. He's got a great feel in the pocket. He's got kind of the anti-McCord feel, where McCord would just kind of have that magnetic thing where he'd be drawn to the trouble in the pocket. Julian's able to kind of feel and move around and find the soft spot. So I'm, look, it's a concern, but a mild, a 2 on a scale of 10. Um, just because the way he delivers the ball. Like I said, he throws it over the top, which is the same way, Drew Brees did and enabled him to, excel at the NFL level. But Julian's that kind of passer as well. So I don't think it's going to be much of an issue. He'd be more concerned just about his build because 16, 17 games is a long season. And
Yeah.
especially as the quarterback position has become more of a runner, at every level, high school, college, and now the NFL. So again, slight concern about did I like having a Will Howard, a big tank of a guy out there at quarterback? Yeah, I did. That's a guilty pleasure of mine, that I like to have a big quarterback who can carry down 4th and 1 and get the yards and take the hits and keep on trucking. But Julian's a different kind of quarterback, and if they can, if they can protect him, he'll do good things. He'll do good things with his legs as well. I don't think he won't be running the tanky way like Will was, but he'll be opportunistic and move, and he's quick, and I think he can pick up first downs. But yeah, we'll have to, the height, not that concerned about, and I think they've done a good job on strength and conditioning on him, so he's a little bigger, a little sturdier now.
Yeah, yeah. I think the durability of the season is more of a concern than him being too short. So I would agree with that. So I mean, he can. And the other thing is, Ryan Day likes to remind people that he's not a statue. And I saw it firsthand at practice when he scrambled. I mean, he took off and looked quick. He's not a slow statue back there. And that doesn't mean he's got to be Braxton or JT, but when he's escaping the pocket, I think he can move the chains in a pinch. So yeah, I hope he just the line protects him, which I believe they will, and he makes good decisions to keep himself out of harm's way as far as taking all that contact, because he's still, he's picked up weight. He's bigger than he was last year, but he's still not like a big physical, AFC North type guy. So that's going to be interesting. I think that's a good segue to our backup quarterback, Lincoln Kienholz. And so, we've been saying for a while now that we felt that he would play. Now, early on, I said packages, and I still think that. Even if it's not just goal line, it's still packages. And so I think we're going to see Lincoln play. How much, I don't know, but you got to get him out there. His athleticism, his ability to throw the ball well. Because I do believe Ryan Day when he said, like earlier today, Nevada, I don't know if you saw the presser, but he straight up said, he gave an example, like when Fields was here, he didn't say chugging off, but he said like we didn't have real depth behind Justin Fields. He straight up said that. Now he said, hey, no offense, I'm glad the kid was here and all that, but it's just the truth. He said here, this is a true 1-2, like a true two guys. And I do believe that. I mean, Lincoln Kienholz is clearly better than Chugginoff. So I'm saying that to say is that Lincoln being brought in is not just some, oh, well, he has legs and it's going to be very predictable. Lincoln can throw the ball. He's just not as precise as the Elite 11 winner Julian Sayin is. But he can throw the ball, and he can be accurate. He can make throws. So the fact that he'll come in won't just be a one-trick pony where he's going to run. And I think they'll be able to show that you have to respect his arm. So with that said, I think Lincoln is going to be needed this year. And I do think, even though it's not limited to goal line and short yardage, I do think he would be a weapon in that. Because, again, if we got defenses thinking he's just being brought in to pick up the run, then we can hit Brandon Ennis on a quick little out route or a quick little stick route or, whatever to move the chains, because the defense is all bunched up on the line trying to stop the Q run. So I really think there's a lot of potential of what we can do with Lincoln, and also to keep him engaged, because we are going to need both of them. I'm not calling for injuries, like God forbid, but it's a long season, man. And so, Nevada, what's your thoughts on what I just said?
Well, I totally agree with you, and I'll add one other element. And just in terms of pure arm strength, Lincoln may have a stronger arm than Julian. So watch out for the deep shot with Lincoln too. So
Yeah.
it wouldn't just be, the little pass or little thing, like, they could bring him in and then, run the straight 9 down the field and take a shot. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
Lincoln's got that kind of, arm ability as well. So I think Lincoln, presents a number of different challenges. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of get him in there. I think in this Texas game, I think the plan is that I would have a sneaking suspicion it's gonna be like the third series or the fourth series, or what it's gonna be. Lincoln's gonna come in and do it. So I think they're just gonna um, I think they want to get him engaged to that degree. They really want him to feel vested in the game plan, vested in this team. Know that it's not just talk. They're going to give him a real opportunity to make a real difference with real players. It's not just going to be garbage time or other things like that. So I think they're going to try to get him in there sooner than later, and get his feet wet and see what he can do. So that'll be something to look for as well.
Yeah, and I do want to see Lincoln run. I mean, like really run. And see what his legs do. I know he's a great athlete, but I want to see it. You know what I'm saying? And so because honestly, with the whole Devin Brown thing, his athleticism was a little overhyped. I was a little disappointed when I saw him out there. And so with Lincoln, I want to see him like roll out. I want to see the coaches give him a run pass option, like in the sense that roll him out, give him the ability to throw or take off, something that's simple to get him going, to put the defense in conflict, and also to use his athleticism and his arm. Because you're right, Nevada. I mean, he's accurate. He's not as accurate as Sayin, but he's accurate. And he's especially accurate enough and has a strong enough arm to get it downfield to Jeremiah Smith, who's going to win a 1-versus-1 battle, a 50-50 ball anyway. Get it to Mylan Graham or J.J. Smith down the field when the defense is bunched up at the line, expecting a short yardage run. So you're right. I mean, I listen, again, just like the whole offensive line situation we talked about yesterday, just because Ethan may not be the starter doesn't mean that it's a bad thing for the room. Like the depth is there. And so just because Lincoln didn't win the starting quarterback position doesn't mean Lincoln is chugging off. Lincoln, I believe, truly is right there. Like he's nipping, like he's there. He brings things to the table that Sayin doesn't, even though Sayin does some things better. And so I'm excited to see both of them play. And I'm really hoping they do get him in there in a timely fashion that makes sense within the flow of the game. But yeah, I want to see Lincoln, man, because he was thrown to the wolves against Mizzou, and that's the last time we really, saw him play. And so I'm excited about that.
Well, it's you got to understand the psychology of these players right now too, because even if Lincoln's been expecting this, been knowing this, or whatever it is, this is a huge ego bash for him today, where he's got to sit there and see Ryan Day go up there and dab up, Julian Sayin all that. You know what I'm saying? Julian's the starter. He's smart. He delivers the ball well. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I
Yeah.
don't care what it is. Like he's a competitor,
Right.
and I think that the OSU offensive staff is really, I mean, the one way to kind of rehabilitate somebody like that and kind of get them mentally right is to dedicate yourself to playing them, even if it's difficult, even if it's a difficult spot. If you say it's the third series or the fourth series, that you're going to stick to it and you're going to play them, and you're going to get them prepared and get them ready. That's the way that he's going to, be ready to go. Because if you don't do that, you risk losing him. And I'm not talking about losing like he's going to leave right now, but just guys check out. And that happens all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like if you feel like somehow you've been passed over, whether you feel it was rightfully passed over or wrongfully passed over or just, unfortunately passed over or whatever it is, it's hard to stay engaged because, getting ready for these games is, it takes a full commitment on the field, off the field, in the film room, in study, on testing, getting yourself ready to play. And if you're not right mentally, it's hard. It's hard to, if you're not really there to make that full commitment. So I think with them, they've really got to do a job of rehabilitating him mentally, because no matter what, I guarantee today hurt for him. because these are human beings. This isn't just Madden where you put the starter in and the second guy just goes off to the virtual cloud somewhere and sits there until you call his number again. Like, this is a real person.
Right.
And he reads the papers, or listens to the news, or does stuff, and here's everybody. Julian sees the cool things that Julian's saying with the crazy hair, and then Lincoln's like, well, I guess I'm just the guy that just got passed over for Julian, and that hurts. So I always have a soft spot for the underdogs, for the guys that are kind of buried on the depth chart, because life's not always easy for those guys. And I really respect the heck out of those guys that keep digging at. That's why Devin Brown, no matter what happens to Devin Brown, I saw that he went, obviously transferred to Cal, went there, and I think he's got beaten out for the starting job at Cal by a freshman. I feel bad for him.
Tough.
I mean, I feel bad for him because Devin didn't do anything here at Ohio State but try to help. He tried to help. He stuck it out. He didn't. He stayed through the national championship game. He gave it his all. He just wasn't good enough. He just wasn't good enough here. But that doesn't make him a bad person. That just means he wasn't as good as Will Howard, or he wasn't as good as Kyle McCord was when he was here. But I really respect the guys that try and stick it out, and I really hope that they're able to make a real role for Lincoln, not a forced one, but a real role for him where he can be a meaningful contributor.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sucks for Devin, because I do tip my cap to him for staying last year and really, just being there as a leader in his role, with Will Howard being the starter. And I mean, he got him a ring and all that, man. So I think Devin is a good character kid and a stand-up young man and all that. But so, it's definitely, I mean, he's gonna have to keep fighting because it's a freshman. They're gonna make mistakes. Things happen. He's gonna have to be ready and be engaged because you just never know with these long seasons. So, best of luck to him with that. But I wanted to flip over to the O-line. So Ryan Day was mentioning left tackle. The only thing he would reveal, as he chuckled in the presser, is that Austin Saravell will be the left tackle. Okay. And then he mentioned rotation with the O-line, namely there may be some rotation at guard, but excuse me, I think mainly the right tackle, the Ethan and Philip Daniels battle is interesting. But again, I know some people will, I don't look at it as a negative thing because I've seen us in spots rotate some linemen and it's worked out. I think it's worked out. And I think especially it's worth pushing now with the length of the season, and especially if both kids are really, really good. So to me, the theme of the battles, you got the safety battle, you got the O-line battle at right tackle. Patricia mentioned that the safeties will be rotating, as we knew. I mean, that's something we've known. But you got two rotation battles against a very, very good team in Texas coming to the shoe. So that should be very interesting. But the safeties, though, whether they play both of them and then when they have Caleb down in that nickel spot, or, when we're in a different set and they just have just one of those guys out there, whatever the look, it's really, really good to know that these battles aren't leaning towards hey, these guys are both mid, so let's just put them out there and see who emerges. It's coming off, Nevada, like, hey, Philip Daniels and Ethan are both really good. And Hartford and I always say Jermaine Matthews, Jalen McClain are both very, very good. Let's play them both. And so to me, that's a really, really good sign. And those kids are just going to have to, when they get in the game, they're going to have to step up and make plays because Texas and Arch is going to attack them. Go ahead, Nevada.
Well, yeah, I think look, Ohio State last year, when Ohio State said that they were going to rotate offensive linemen through the national championship, when they were, Luke Montgomery and Tigra were going to move around and stuff. I mean, I thought that was kind of crazy, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they really liked it. They really liked what it brought. They thought it kept guys fresher, kept them, kept guys, for especially some of the big guys that may have some conditioning issues or some other things like that, concentration issues. They really liked what they got out of it. And I think that they're going to go to it this year for exactly the reason you said. They've got a lot of dudes on the offensive line, a lot of dudes. And, they're talking about a 6 or 7 person rotation. They could probably go 9, 10, 11 deep and play guys that could actually play. And, for Ethan, what they're finding is Ethan may be a better right tackle than he was a left tackle. And those are different positions. And, a lot of times you'll see that guys, play left tackle in college, and then they go to the NFL and they're right tackles. Where Ethan may be one of those guys that he may be a more natural right tackle. And, Austin, luckily is that Swiss Army knife that could play anywhere on the line. Um, and he's going to lock down that left side. But I think they're going to be playing a lot of guys. They're going to be moving around because they do have options, because they did like what it gave them last year in that national championship run. And I think it'll get, I like everything about having that when you've got people that can do it. And like you said, it's not because the guys aren't up to snuff. It's because you have so many guys that can play, and I really like that on the offensive line side. On the defensive side, in the safety battle, I think you have just two really great players. I mean,
Yeah.
you're potentially great players. I mean, McLean and Hartford are both freaking dudes. You know what I'm saying? I mean, those guys are just good, and it's hard to send one of those guys to the bench or say, "Oh, you're not the starter," because they're both really super talented. And you want to keep both those guys around, both those guys engaged mentally as part of the process. But there's very little separation between the two, and they're both going to play a lot. And I guess we'll see who plays better when the light's shining brightest and there's 100,000 people in the building. But they're super talented, and they like what both those guys bring to the table. And remember, next year you've got another safety spot opening with Caleb, going, in the top 5 in the NFL draft. So you're going to want to have both those guys around for next year as well. So lots to consider on the offensive line, lots to consider in the safety spot, but just an abundance of talent. This is a super talented, super deep team. Lots of guys that can bring lots of things, and when you have that, then you inevitably you have position battles like we do at safety and offensive line.
Yep. This O line, and about this O line, Stilly, I saw your comment. I think it was Stilly. I'm not sure who it was, but I'm going to touch on it a little bit in conjunction with my comment about the O line. And my little Nuggets write up I did when I went to practice. One thing I said about the line is Hensman really jumped out at me, Nevada. Remember, I mean, his comeback story or his reemerging story when given the opportunity is a great one. But he was thrown, I don't want to say to the wolves, but kinda as a young man, he was thrown in there early, and he really wasn't ready physically, but he stepped up and did well in a pinch. And from what I saw in Nevada, he's stronger, he's more confident. Like looking at the O-line going through drills, Hensman really popped to me. I mean, his punch was on point. He just looks strong, like an ox out there, and a leader. He looks like the next. What Remington is the center trophy, right? Remington.
Correct.
He looks like a polished, like Remington type of kid. He looks like it, man. And so I was very impressed with Hensman out there and just his leadership. And so I say that to say these guys got to play this Texas D line last year. So I mean, they're coming off a natty in that run that they had. Think about this O-line room, because as much as these kids act like they don't hear the noise, they hear the noise, okay? They got Twitter. They hear from their friends. Justin Fry was getting pummeled and killed. The line was getting pummeled and killed before the title run. And for them to emerge like that and go on the run that they did with the MASH unit, like that, the confidence. Can you imagine the confidence they have going into this season as returning starters, and especially against a team you've already played and beat by 2 touchdowns? And so there's that. But also Colin Simmons, I forget who it was in the chat. He did post on his IG story. He posted the picture of Julian Sayin, like being the starter, right? He didn't say anything. There was no text or caption. But he posted it, and clearly we know with Colin Simmons, for those who don't know, he's the All-American defensive end at Texas. I think he was a true freshman last year. He's a dog. He's really, really good. So he posted Julian Sayin. So if I'm Bowen, I'm posting that picture in the meeting room with the O-line and say, are you going to let this kid come after and get your quarterback? So I'm kind of glad Simmons did that. Not that they need motivation, But for some hungry slobs who are ready to get out there and protect their new QB, that's a shot in the arm of even more motivation. Would you agree, Nevada?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the kind of, I mean, look, I love bulletin board material, and I agree you shouldn't need motivation, but Urban Meyer was the master of doing that, and
Yeah.
getting guys ready, and that's why he was so darn good in all those rivalry games and those big games, those bowl games. I mean, he almost never lost that situation. Um, but yeah, no, it's a big challenge. But I mean, like you said, we've got 4 guys back that played substantial minutes in the national championship run last year. I mean, it's like big minute, not backup minutes, not garbage time, virtually 4 starters back. And then you're adding Ethan, you're adding Philip Daniels, you're adding other guys to the mix. So I mean, will have experience. They know what they can do. They've played against Texas before. I thought Texas did a really good job against probably certainly the best of any of the teams in the playoff run in terms of hampering our defense. We scored points, but 75 yards of that was on a screen pass to Trey Henderson, where he housed it right before the half, and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be a huge challenge. I think Texas is really, really good. They lost a lot in the games at home, and that I really think I think a lot of it's going to come down to the crowd. I mean, I really mean that. I mean, like, I think if the crowd brings the kind of intensity that they brought the night of the Tennessee game, I think Texas is in for a world of hurt. I really do. But if it's a wine and cheese type of afternoon there in Columbus, and people are just kind of whatever, or if it's just not a frenzy, I think that's to the advantage of Texas. But I think if the crowd gets going early and starts making it difficult, then I think it's going to be a great afternoon in the shoe, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, we got to set the tone, man. We're going to keep saying it. We got to set the tone, crowd. And I don't think I have confidence in this crowd. I'm going to keep saying it. I just refuse to believe this crowd. I know the noon game stuff gets tiresome, but this is Texas. This is 1 versus 2 or 1 versus 3 in the shoe. All the pomp and circumstance, biggest game of the season, starting off week 1. This crowd is going to be ready. And so also combined with the crowd, the defense going after Arch, hitting him. If he pulls on the zone read, hit him. Whatever. Just get after him, make it very, very difficult, and to kind of work in concert with the crowd to help frenzy them up and just keep it going. I think, Nevada, coming out early on defense, having Arch on the run, incomplete passes, or just getting to him, hopefully a sack, just stifling defense, I think will really, really set the tone in this game. But speaking of defense, kind of flipping to the offense briefly, I don't know if you heard what Patricia said today, Matt Patricia, but hearing him say that he threw the kitchen sink at Julian Sayin from a schematic. This is an NFL coordinator who knows all the tricks, the looks, the blitzes, the whatever to confuse a quarterback. And he basically said Sayin passed with flying colors. And so that was very good and encouraging to hear from Patricia that Sayin was able to handle that. You know what I'm saying? I did it on purpose. But that was good to hear. But flipping back to the defense again, I really, really want to set the tone on D, because, again, I know Texas defense should be good, but the catalyst for why people think they're going to come in the shoe is because of Arch Manning and beat us. It's because of Arch Manning. At least that's what the headlines are saying. So to get after him, because I think at home in the shoe with our weapons, if the Texas defense is stingy early and Julian Sayin is trying to get his footing and all the other stuff, we're eventually going to break through at home. We'll figure it out. Defensively, if we can set the tone early and not let Arch have confidence on the road early, I think that's gonna really, really go a long way for us to really, I guess, set the tone for the ball game in itself. What you think about that, Angle?
Well, yeah. Well, I ask you a question. You win the toss, you take the ball, or you defer, take it the second half?
Defer.
Yeah, I do too. I do
Yep.
too. And I think that's what I mean. I know Ryan's. I'd say he's 80% deferral, and but I think that's the right play in this situation. We really want to win that toss. I really want to see the defense go out in the field early, because I also think that nothing gets. Obviously, when you're on offense, you want the crowd to be quiet. When you're on defense, you want the crowd to be loud. So I want to engage the crowd. So I want the defense to go on the field first. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Yep.
I want to get it going on early. So little things like that. But I hope we do win the toss. We got a 50-50 chance. Let's
Right.
win the toss. Let's defer. Let's go on defense and let's get everybody fired up and get going. But yeah, I'm so excited to see what Matt Patricia's got, in mind for Arch Manning because, like you said, he's been an offensive coordinator at the NFL level. He's been a head coach. He's been a defensive coordinator. So
Mhm.
if anybody can cook up some packages for him, it'll be a guy like Matt Patricia, and um, it'll be just interesting to see, if Texas, you know, how much, you know, like will the it will the defense come out and be as good as we hope, think, pray that they will be right off the bat? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be one of the great things. We just don't know. We just don't know because we lost a lot of talent. Um, but we got a lot of really good young talent and we got a new coordinator. So I'm not certain what we're gonna see out there. I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic given what how well they did against our offense in the spring and so far in fall camp. But I'd be lying if I told you that I know. Like last year, you pretty much knew what you were going to get from this team. We may not have played a complete game, but we knew it was there. Um, this year, there's just so much youth, so much inexperience, that the highs could be super high, but the lows could be low. And
Yeah.
that's what makes the college football so much fun. That's what makes the game so unpredictable. And like I said, I'm really excited to see what he's got in mind for Arch Manning.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. I'm curious to see what the game plan is for Texas, but in my mind, I picture quick screens to the wide receivers, maybe a QB power mixed in, maybe a zone read, but quick throws, get it out to the edge, make our DBs make tackles in space, maybe roll out Manning and give him the option to run or throw, and kind of get it going that way. So definitely got to be ready to tackle in space. If they do run zone read, we got to be disciplined. If they dare run option, and I say dare because that leaves Arch open to being hit, we got to be ready. We got to be disciplined and all of that. So, because I think maybe test the young DNs on the edge, put them in conflict, see what they're going to do. When they have to make a good decision. So, we'll see. I'm curious to see what they come out with, what Texas comes out with to get Arch going, because I can't see them just straight up, taking a deep shot early. Maybe they will, maybe, but I don't know. I think Sark wants to get in there and just do and move the chains methodically, keep us try to keep us on our heels and make our young defense, our line, our edges make decisions. And so I can maybe see a few zone reads, some, screens and stuff like that. So we'll see. We'll see, man. But I'm excited to see what Patricia's going to unveil, man. And of course, Caleb at that nickel position to me makes me sleep a lot better with him being there to be able to dissect and really not just make the right play himself, but also make sure his guys around him know where to go and are lined up and being the captain out there on D, so to speak. So yeah, anything on that?
Well, it does help. You talked about how Julian Sayin, had the kitchen sink thrown at him by Patricia and was able to kind of handle it. I
Yeah.
mean, he's a fast processor. I mean, he is a very, very, very smart quarterback. So that's good. And on defense, Caleb Downs is a very, very, very smart, you know, safety, nickel, whatever you want to call it. But he's your quarterback on defense, and he's like, part of it. They talk about guys playing fast, and it's just because they see things quicker. They can anticipate it. It's pattern recognition. They see stuff and they immediately recognize what it means, where it's going, where to do it, and so they're able to get there a split second faster than other guys are. Well, that's the way that Julian Sayin delivers the ball, and that's the way that Caleb Downs attacks it. So I like that we've got two of those guys, as quarterbacks on the offense and the defense, and because we're going to need it because we've got inexperience at key spots on both those things. But having the best player in college football and J.J. Smith on offense as well, and Caleb on defense, that it always starts there. Because whether you have the good players, good players are great, but great players can make up for a lot. And we have great players on our team. We have exceptional players, transcendent talents, and one on each side. So get pretty excited about that.
Yep, I'm looking forward to the eye candy and things. I was watching JJ Smith highlights earlier, and don't sleep on the end rounds and motioning him in the backfield and handoffs around the edge. You remember the play he scored on against Michigan State where they brought him around misdirection and he was able to score with that speed. And so don't forget about that stuff with JJ, and not just him being getting the handoff, but getting the fake handoff and then giving it to Peoples just to get, because the defense, Texas is going to be keying on him. So moving him around a lot, like we've been saying, is going to be key, not just to get him the ball, but to get the defense in a place to where we can take advantage of them over keying on him. And so JJ, that boy fast, man. I mean, he's fast, big and fast. And so it's just, imagine his confidence from the beginning of the season to the end of how he ended. He's already confident, but I mean, you talking about he's ready to put on the show. I mean, I cannot wait to see how we use him in a redemptive fashion for the game that he didn't have against Texas because of some of the things we were doing and what Texas was doing on defense. So that's another exciting thing. But we got a few super chats we can get to, Nevada.
Let's do it.
All right. Yep. So this is the one, the Bates Blueprint. Thanks for the 199. C. Simmons posted saying on his IG story, let's LFG OH Nevada. Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. That's good for you, Colin Simmons. Pump yourself up. You get pumped up. Oh, that's the guy I'm going after. Let's put him on my wall, whatever. Cool. But it's also going to get these slobs pumped up too. All right, you best believe that O-line. Oh my, if I was an O-lineman and I saw that, woo-hoo, that's fire. That's going to fire me up. Like, to me, that's more as far as motivation goes and a competitor. That to me is going to fire up our O-line to knock y'all back and stymie you more than Colin Simmons getting extra fire to get to him. That's just my opinion. What you think about that?
Well, I just wish he had done one of those things where he put the thing and they had like the little, like the scope, like the little target on it or something like that, with like the bullseye on it or something like that.
Even better. Yeah,
that'd have been even better. Yeah, so maybe we do a little meme on that little thing there for him to kind of put up there. But no, yeah, I like anytime they do that because offensive linemen are very, very protective of the quarterback, man. And when you call that out and stuff like that, that's a personal affront. You're questioning the manhood of the guys that are the defenders, and yeah, that'll definitely get the juices going on the offensive line for sure. Because they look, they like Julian Sayin. I mean, not that they don't like Lincoln or they don't like, but I mean, like, that's a quarterback, man. Like, and that's when you do something like that, that's about as personal as it gets for offensive linemen. So yeah, I was glad to see he did that.
I just imagine T.O. That's my quarterback. That's my quarterback. That's when the O-line saw that picture on IG, they's like, man, we ain't having this. Nah, I'm joking. But yeah, definitely motivation for the O-line to since he wants to publicly, because you're right. To me, it's almost like you can imagine the target. And maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll make a little quick meme. That's easy. I can do that and say, hey, this is what Texas is doing. What you gonna do, slobs, or something like that. So yeah. The Bates Blueprint, thanks again for the 199. Why national media is saying we're replacing our O-line because they're idiots. They have no clue. I've seen so many, you know how you see like a little clip on YouTube of a crew of people, let's dissect Ohio State and their chances of whatever. They're replacing the entire O-line room. No, we're not. Do 5 minutes of research. I mean, really, you can honestly find that information rather quickly. I don't expect other fan bases and analysts who don't really get into Ohio State football as much to know everything off the top of the head. But I mean, literally 5-10 minutes of research would get you that. Nevada.
Well, I mean, I saw a list that had a top 25 offensive lines in college football. They didn't have Ohio State listed, and it was like,
Yeah.
Ohio State not one of the top 25 lines. Like you said, I'm with you. I think they could win the Joe Moore. I think this is one of the best lines in college football, and I think they're going to show it. And um, I mean, I love everything about this offensive line. I love the versatility. I love the experience. I love the strength. Um, I love the fact that we're so deep. I mean, there's just so much to like about this offensive line. So yeah, I'm not sure why. I guess it's because Josh Simmons went in the first round, Donnie Jackson went in the first round, Seth McLaughlin went to the Bengals. So they're just looking at that and going, "Oh, all the guys must be gone." It's like, well, dude, you forgot that we lost Josh Simmons in the middle of the year. We lost Seth McLaughlin in the middle of the year. So by necessity, we had to we got invaluable experience. But I always say, when adversity strikes, I always talk about that, Jocko Willenick thing about good. When something bad happens, good. What are you going to do with
Yeah.
it? Well,
The motivation
look,
video.
the motivation video, but that was bad last year. But what was the good that came out of it? We've got tons of guys with national championship experience, and
Yes.
and that's, I mean, that was really a blessing. So sometimes the blessings are hard to find, but you just got to look for them. But losing Josh Simmons and Seth McLaughlin, it wasn't the end of days for us, and it actually prepared us for 2025. And so I'm actually grateful for it. Not happy that it happened, but grateful that we got the experience.
Definitely. Definitely. All right. John M., thanks for the 999. The national media seems to agree that cheating penalties were too light based on the offenses they committed. Other than NIL money, why would any player choose to go to that cesspool? So, yes, one thing after the extremely ridiculous decision to not follow through with the required 2-year postseason ban that comes with a failure to monitor aggravated as a repeat offender, which is the worst you can get. They decided not to give the bowl ban because they care about the current kids on the roster. It's ridiculous. First time ever they've done that, by the way. But you got Michigan fans doing victory laps for celebrating that you clearly cheated, but the judge had mercy on you or took a bribe, whatever you want to call it. They didn't do their job. And you're celebrating as if you're exonerated. You're not exonerated. The whole nation can see that you cheated. And one thing that has pleased me, Nevada, and everyone out there in the chat, looking at the national media, they're all going in on Michigan. I haven't seen anybody in the national media or media in general that has said, "Oh yeah, this was just." No, they're all going in. And so everybody, not even just the national media, but fans, like the podcast and stuff like that. Everybody, Georgia fans. I was looking at a Georgia fan. Mello sent me a post from a Georgia podcaster. Was just as outraged as I sound right now about how awful this decision was by the NCAA to not follow through with what comes with failure to monitor aggravated. A multi-year postseason ban is required. That's what the actual bylaws say. They did not do that. And so everybody just cheat. Just destroy evidence. Don't comply. You be a fool to cooperate with the NCAA now. Why? It's now wild, wild west, not only in NIL, but just with compliance in general. So again, like I said the other day, it's a sad day for college football with this ruling. So you're right. Other than NIL money, that's it. It's NIL money. Even Bryce Underwood, was basically dissing them publicly multiple times. When he was committed to LSU until they backed up the Brinks truck and offered him a ridiculous amount of money. Then it was, so it is what it is, man. But everyone knows they cheated and everyone is going in on them. So that gives me some pleasure. Nevada?
Well, and that was as predicted. People have been asking me for years, why isn't the national media on the story? And I'm like, they're just not as educated as we are. Once the story comes out, once all the facts come out, you're going to see it. They're going to embrace it because it's a disgusting story. And I think the other thing that it really kind of exposed is just how disgusting the fan base is. I mean, they really are disgusting people. I mean, it's bad. I mean, it's there's I really think that there's a segment of them that are mentally ill and really disturbed, and I I think that that's kind of on the idea that you can be. I'd be embarrassed, man, if Ohio State did something like this. I mean, oh my gosh, we Ohio State Ohio State fans, we eat our own. There's no way that Ohio State would be celebrating something like this. Heads would be rolling, guys would be getting fired. I mean, it just, this was disgusting. I mean, the stuff by Sharon Moore, deleting the stuff, and then they sent out a retention thing, and then he deletes more, and then he
Right.
claims, oh, it was just because I was saving space on my phone. I mean, just that whole organization is just rotten to the core. But that fan base is disgusting. It's a disgusting fan base, and I'm sad that that they got away with it. That, like you said, that the COI, not the NCAA, the COI, that the jury run. I talked to my NCAA source. He called Norman Bay, the head of COI. He called him an anarchist. He said he's an anarchist. He's a guy that's dedicated to the destruction of institutions, and he just shanghaied that process and ignored the bylaws, ignored the required postseason ban, and substituted a financial ban. And the people at NCAA are furious about it, and it was a travesty. But like I said, it's nice to see them getting pillared in the media, and it's nice to see the the disgusting Michigan fan base be exposed once and for all for what they are.
Yep. Yeah, nobody's going to respect that title. And that's the resounding message from across the country, the national media, fan bases. They don't respect that title. They never will. Michigan fans will try to act like, play it tough and act like, oh, you suck eyes, your tears, no. The whole country is looking at you like you're a clown show and a fraud, because that's what you are. And so this season, I think we're going to see, once again, a collapse, multiple losses. And so that's going to be nice to behold as they return back to normal after, the scheme is done and over with. So, yeah, so there's that. And I saw in the chat, Oklahoma saying Oklahoma wants to smash them. Yeah. Go Sooners. I mean, I thought that was going to be the case anyway, but these other schools, especially out of conference, they're really going to want to get after them, especially now, because this is just despicable. Even Rich Eisen, and he's a Michigan homer, was saying stuff today like, man, like this is bad. This is embarrassing. Wish Connor Stalions was never a part of this program. It's embarrassing. I mean, if anybody reads that report, throwing evidence in the pond, and it's just, if this was Ohio State, Ohio State got crucified for tattoos, for trinkets. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So anyway, rant over. But yep. So again, tomorrow is day 11, 11 days until Buckeye football. I've got some players in mind. I'm gonna think about it, process it, but we're going to be down to single digits very, very soon. And I cannot wait. Game week is approaching. You gotta, it really ramps up then. You got the more coverage and more buzz and just more stuff to really get into and dig into. And then of course we got actual college football. There's some games, on Thursday. I believe week 0. I forget who the matchup is for week 0. I got to go look at that. But all of that is coming, y'all. We about to be watching college football. I'm super excited, man, as we lead up to this Texas game. So any last things before we bang out, Nevada?
Nah, just got to bring it, man. Fan, you're going to the game. You got to bring it. We all have a part to play in this thing on the 30th, and we got to bring the noise, bring the energy, bring the Buckeyes a victory.
Yep, definitely. And I'm confident Buckeye Nation is going to handle business. I really am. It's going to be loud. And so with our defense firing and just playing, I hope we do defer, get out there, get a 3 and out. That'll really set it off. And then from there is saying to JJ Smith, touchdown Buckeyes, So anyway, listen, love y'all, Scoop family. We will see y'all tomorrow. Go Bucks. Peace.